everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Why Marketing Podcast. My guest today is Dan Kryzanowski, the EVP over at Rocket Dollar based here in Austin, Texas. Rocket Dollar is disrupting the way the traditional wealth management industry operates. So Dan, welcome to the show.
Rusty, life is great here at the world headquarters of Whole Foods, talking to some of the most dynamic CPG entrepreneurs and fundraisers across the U.S.
Very cool. What do you got going on there?
Yeah, so we've been fortunate this week with the world coming to Austin to really share the message how folks could empower themselves, to have a well-diversified portfolio. And then on the flip side, every great entrepreneurs introducing their wares and talking how they want to grow. So, I feel it's kind of the right place, the right time to get all these parties together so we can all grow accordingly.
For those that may not be familiar with you or Rocket Dollar, can you give everybody a little bit of background about yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I, like many of you, kind of grew up wonderful small town life, Northeast Pennsylvania, early part of my career. Pretty standard. A few years at Merrill Lynch, a few years at GE, with some degrees at Wharton, Thunderbird, studying and living in Spain, Mexico, across the United States. So, I'd say in some ways for folks that follow that sort of route, pretty typical. Built up my 401k, IRA, a bit of a Roth IRA over that time. And then about a decade ago, maybe with a little foresight into the crystal ball, we made a conscious decision to move back to Austin, where I really felt the finance and, to a point, real estate communities could really benefit from, as we say, 21st century technology. So, the net result of living in a town like Austin and being involved heavy in the finance and real estate communities is that I learned that there were actually accounts and ways out there to tap into my pretty big glut of retirement dollars to start investing in everything from local bars and restaurants to niche real estate such as self-storage and everything in between. So that's kind of the advent of myself. And each of the member of the founding team at Rocket Dollar had a similar story, whether they invested heavily in startups, family-owned companies, strictly real estate, you name it. And what we realized is that two things. One, the majority of the population is unaware of this. And then secondly, those that had a relatively shoddy, high-priced, low customer service sort of experience. So we realized there was a huge opportunity to really educate and empower folks across the country.
I guess that's probably a good segue to kind of talk more about a little bit about Rocket Dollar. Would you say it's still a startup for the most part in the fintech space?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. I mean, we've, purposely, built the foundation as opposed to doing wild promises out there to our investors and our market. So we incorporated just over a year ago, have had two wonderful South by Southwest. We're voted one of the top fintech startups in the world at Money 2020. And, the nicest thing is just kind of the recognition of folks, across all crosses of life. And as we travel the country to speak at a lot of shows and share this messaging that, in short, people can use their retirement dollars for what they want.
I definitely think there's a lot of people out there trying to figure that out, especially with the markets and the wind and everybody's sales right now and the way the economy is, it's really strong. In that space, what, from a marketer standpoint, because you run both marketing and business development there at Rocket Dollar, what has been the area that you feel like has been the most successful for you to be out there reaching your customers to kind of educate them on benefits that Rocket Dollar provides versus more traditional type of investing?
Sure. So we've been fortunate to speak to a variety of folks where I think it really resonates, at least for me. Maybe this is a little selfish with my background, but has been in the real estate community, especially when markets tend to be trending upward. Anybody in real estate, of course, they literally want more money faster so they can do their next house flip, they can do their next commercial property, their next syndication. So real estate folks, I think, are most aware of, I'd say, kind of the muscle of fundraising as part of their daily endeavors here. And then especially those that have been and familiar with the self-directed space are really excited with what we offer here on our end, particularly that with our account holders having checkbook control, that it's as easy as receiving a check from their piggy bank checking account or one of Rocket Dollar's enhanced retirement accounts.
So for your customers, what are some of the unique benefits and why people would actually probably, they're switching over and opening up accounts with Rocket Dollar?
Yeah, I mean, one is just general diversification. And I think I look at it two ways. I mean, let's look at the typical millennial. He or she probably invested in a few crowdfunding campaigns, maybe is in the market with a robo-advisor. So for their, as I call it, the piggy bank checking account, pretty well diversified. But for me, and probably for a lot of listeners on the call here, the big light bulb moment is when you sit at these high net worth and family office conferences. They're pretty open, not even just behind closed doors, to say, less than 10% of our assets are in stocks, bonds, mutual funds. So for me, this was the light bulb moment, particularly if somebody says, I have a large 401k or IRA over $1 million or as small as 100,000 or even 10,000. We're giving anybody across the spectrum the opportunity to have, as we call it, 21st century diversification.
Pretty cool little buzzword there, 21st century diversification. Did you coin that yourself?
I like to claim it, but Henry, our CEO, is 100 times smarter than me. So I think I'll give him credit where credit's due. But, from that standpoint, it really is, though, because, I mean, when you just look at your interest, I think the whole, just think of, going to the supermarket and only having 2 or 3 brands. I see this at Whole Foods today. I think folks want variety. They want difference in their life. They're willing to take some measured bets on things or to try something new. So I think and I think this is moving to across every part of somebody's life. I don't think life is as compartmentalized anymore, for better or worse. But what you're seeing, so a coin that I did term is 6 figures in 6 minutes. So for any entrepreneur, particularly somebody at the seed or Series A stage, raising money, it would be extremely wise of them to inform their audience, particularly their prospective investors, that they could use their retirement dollars. And I can almost guarantee, if they have a sizable group of prospective investors, they will get 6 figures in 6 minutes from these enhanced retirement accounts.
Just because it's easier for those folks to invest because they've really got, like, I think you said, like a piggy bank checking account. Yeah.
And the big difference, as I said, the benefit here, myself and our founding team, we're in some ways a bit of oddballs that we've actually been in this space for the past decade, have had these accounts and also personally raised millions of dollars for our personal endeavors. So the nice thing and why, I share the 6 figures in 6 minutes is for the individual to sign up. It's all of 5 minutes online. Then it's a few things that you'll e-sign in the background, probably one form to fill out coming from your current say Vanguard or Fidelity. And then those that are raising money, it's as simple as, once again, just here's one email. Our team has deep expertise. Our knowledge base is a few hundred questions that really, I think, put folks at ease to ensure that they're moving their money over tax and penalty free. It can grow tax free. And then, with checkbook control, it's just as easy as writing a check. So it's not like your money is being held hostage or you're going through heavy bureaucratic paperwork. We at Rocket Dollar took all that friction. So it's actually opening an opportunity. So the first time somebody is introduced, they're going to have an extremely positive experience and then associate that probably with the entity they're investing in and, of course, share this experience with their community.
Pretty interesting. It's definitely a space that is growing and getting a lot of attention. You read a lot of different articles about it. Where do you see the biggest opportunity, or what excites you the most about being at Rocket Dollar, and where do you see the future for it?
Yeah, I mean, the excitement is the comically large number, of the market. So for my marketing friends out there, you hear the term TAM, total available or total addressable market. This number is literally $9.5 trillion. It's probably the only thing that can step into the ring, with our $22 trillion national debt. So there's this comically large number of old, as we call it, old 401ks, old IRAs, some of which are probably forgotten. You may have forgotten where your first 401k is from 20-something years ago in your first job. So, I think the excitement here is when folks just take a little step back and say, do I really want to be in stocks for the next 30 years? Or, earning 2% on a bond fund, is that something that's going to be good for my long term? And I think just taking a minor step back, they are going to go somewhere where they're familiar with comfort. Myself personally has been self-storage facilities. Other folks on our team that are deeply in the startup community with repeat entrepreneurs have gone there. And then other folks just have a passion play. So, once again, very similar to when you have a passion or frankly a good idea or a good feeling, those that have invested with their piggy bank checking account, this is just another source of funds, in the aggregate, almost 10 trillion that everybody has a little slice to, and they can take back part of their retirement dollars.
I think it's neat though, and it was an area that I didn't really consider, but for those that are trying to go out and raise, I guess, money from angel investors, that's probably a really good route to go target and make available.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And, some folks on the call here, I'm sure they have a few kids in private school or maybe college right now. So, these are not the, call it liquid years. That said, the presumption is that they may have worked at, say here in Austin at Dell for 20 years, probably have a sizable, let's just say even $500,000 IRA. And there's something that they really want to invest in, maybe an East Side boutique, one of these great, food companies that I've met today at Whole Foods. And it really makes a lot of sense to say, why shouldn't 5 or 10% of their portfolio be allocated to one of these great brands that they support or feel good about the team? And frankly, is probably going to have a lot stronger return versus, quote unquote, the market.
You got me, you got the wheels spinning in my head. Let's talk real quick while we have a few minutes left about your background. I mean, when you were younger, what did you think you'd be doing as a career?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. It's with my son, 3 years old. Everything revolves around a dinosaur, a rocket man. That's probably because he sees the the rocket dollar logo all over the place. But I'm a child of the '80s. I always had an analytical mind. Being a corporate CEO, I did my undergrad at Wharton. This was a pretty good track that I was thinking about. And frankly, through my 20s, I was following pretty well. I was at a pretty exclusive marketing program through General Electric. It was Jeff Immelt's baby. Got to work closely with the likes of Beth Comstock and many of the CMOs. Just an absolute head-to-toe amazing experience to know the ins and outs of segmentation, potentialization, gold standard marketing, really bringing in data into thought process way before, any of the, the buzzwords of these years became a commonality. So with all that said, I've also been just naturally, I'd say very sociable and a connector, but also what my mission in life is to really let people optimize their time and their enjoyment. And, I recognize at an early age that, financing or money, it does play a part, one way or the other. So, what I wanted at certain stages in life, I think it became more from, as I said, the CEO sort of position to where I can impact, maybe I've always had a sweet spot in my heart for small towns, small communities. That's why I focused on community banks for a while. I think that's where this really excites me. Because if I can go to, a family or somebody, as I work out the numbers, I mean, let's just say if it's a wise real estate investment, say a 25% IRR investment in self-storage, and you put in a fair chunk, literally, somebody invests $100,000 in storage today, 20 years down the road, this doubles a few times. Somebody could legitimately retire 1 or 2 years early. So at least to make folks aware of the knowledge that this could be available, I think is tremendously exciting. And the fact that now, with the great team we have at Rocket Dollar to share this message across the country, that's where the deep excitement is. So I don't even know if there's a title for it, but it's just giving back folks time to do what they want, more time with their family, and invest in, companies and people they believe in.
Oh, I think it's a great mission. When I look at my career and things that I would change or do differently, if you had a chance to go back and kind of give yourself one piece of advice, what would that one piece of advice be?
It's funny. It's probably a reason why I'm sitting here at Whole Foods talking today. 10 years ago, I was talking to Ken McKenzie. His wife is from Guadalajara also, as mine is, and he was the founder of Republic Tequila. The bottle's in the shape of the state of Texas. But while I bring it up, this was the first true organic tequila. And very, very, very few times in my life I went against my gut. I could have had the opportunity to be early with Ken and Tom Nall way back here in Austin in 2008, but, chose to have the move back to the Northeast. I, eventually made it back to Austin 3 years ago, but I would just say, I think, you can't underestimate what your gut and your heart is telling you. So that would be my one piece of advice.
Follow your heart.
Follow the heart. Yes, sir.
And your gut rarely lies.
Well, maybe after too much barbecue down here, but up until then, it never does.
My rule is you can never have enough barbecue. And that may be a good opportunity for us to do a follow-up episode where we can discuss our favorite spots around Austin to get barbecue. But Dan, last thing for you. If folks want to learn more about Rocket Dollar, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a courtesy to anybody here that wants to learn more, feel free to reach out to me, dan@rocketdollar.com, visit our website. We have a dynamite knowledge base, so info.rocketdollar.com/learn. And happy to speak one-on-one, or likewise, if you're feeling it, it could make sense to sign up. As a courtesy, happy to offer, I'm from Philadelphia, so we think in terms of Ben Franklin, so happy to offer 100 off to anybody that signs up with the referral code YMarketing19, so all one word, YMarketing19. And it'd be great to have start relationship with some folks listening today.
It's awesome. We'll get that also posted on the website and all the other social accounts. So YMarketing19. Dan, thank you so much. I know you're in between meetings at this conference. Best of luck with that. And thank you for being on the show.
You got it, Russ. Thanks so much, bud.
Have a good one. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.